In this session, we're going to discuss enterprise receivable accounts. So in my enterprise from the home ribbon, if I go down to enterprise setup, I can scroll down and we're going to go to accounting. And underneath accounting will be receivable accounts. So when I click on receivables, I go up to the top left corner and I hit search. Here will be a current listing of receivable accounts. Receivable accounts can be managed either at the enterprise or at the location. So what does that mean? Let's take a look. So if I go to accounting in the enterprise and I pull up all of my receivables, now I'm going to go down to the bottom left corner, click on the receivable tab. I'm going to go up and I'm going to use my asterisk and hit enter, pull up a list of accounts. So this means all of these accounts are being managed at the enterprise. And the way you can tell is everything is working. In other words, all of your management tools. So if I click on something, I can see all of my management tools. I can reconcile, I can do adjustments, apply credits, make payments. I can also produce an individual statement here. And in the utilities, I can apply service charges if I have service charges on multiple accounts and prepare statements. If we go over to a location, this is going to look a lot different. Let's go pull up a location. So here I am at location 2. I go to accounting, bottom left corner, click on receivables, and let's pull up the receivable accounts here. So you'll notice the accounts that have the asterisk on the end of the name, these are letting you know they're enterprise managed. They're enterprise receivables. In other words, they were set up at the enterprise. So if I look at the top here, you see everything is kind of grayed out. So again, you cannot manage this. Now I can come in here and maybe look at an invoice or something like that, or an adjustment. But what I can't do is do any of the management stuff. I can go look at an invoice, maybe reprint it, look at a transaction. That's about it. Another way you can tell is by going to the setup. Here I am still at location 2. And if I go down to accounts receivable here and do a search, you'll see anything that's shaded gray. Again, shaded gray means coming from the enterprise. If it has the white background, that means it was set up at the location. So fairly easy to tell once you realize what you're looking for. So what I can do here is if I want to set up a new account in the system and I want to be able to manage it at the enterprise, I can go straight into the enterprise and have everything set up and send it out to the locations. So let's go into the enterprise. I'm going to minimize this one and we're going to open it up. So here I am at the setup again, receivable accounts. I click on add. I can create a contact and set up the receivable. So I'm going to hit next. So we're going to type in the name here. We're going to go to next again. Tell the system where am I going to manage it. We're going to manage it at the enterprise. Make sure we have a term in here. Now this just happens to be the default term in mine, but you can always change this if you need to. What is their limit? Let's say we have a $5,000 limit with this customer. Do they have a service charge rate? How do I want to do their statements? I can either A, print them and mail them, or I can email. And then you just simply select which way you want to do it. Now this information here will come directly off the contact card. There's another tab here called location. So by default, the system will automatically assume you want to go out to all locations. All locations. Now, if you do have a particular location or two that you don't want it to go to, in other words, you don't want it available at a specific location, you can simply click on that location, go down to the bottom to the action button, hit delete, and it removes it from that location. If you want to add a location, action, add, search. This will give you a listing of all your locations. Click it and then hit OK, and that'll add a location. So once I hit save, now that contact is in the system and there is an enterprise payable setup. Receivable. Let's go look at the contacts. So we're going to close this. We're going to go to contacts. Look for Mr. Fred Stone here. There he is. So if I click, right click, do an edit. Again, this contact was coming from the enterprise. In other words, I entered him at the enterprise, so it belongs to the enterprise. I go to details, accounting, receivable account. Let's go look at his settings. He's being a enterprise managed account, and he's going to be available at all 3 locations. Save. And now he's in the system. So let's go over to a location and see what happened. Here I am in location 2. I go to contacts, look for Mr. Stone. There he is at my location. Click on his name, right click, edit, go to details, accounting. He has a enterprise receivable account. There's my settings. And you see this is kind of blued out here. In other words, I can't change anything here. So again, this is all being controlled at the enterprise. So if I'm at a location, you kind of think about that in long term, at a location and I need to raise a limit, I have to go to the enterprise to do that. So now when I go look at my receivable accounts at the location, we go back over to setup and pull them up. Receivables, search. There's Mr. Stone. So quite easy to set up a receivable account, manage it at the enterprise. Everything goes there, and you can send it right out to your locations, whichever you so choose. So once in a while, you may need to set up a receivable account, but you want to manage it at the location. Let's go see how that works. So in my enterprise, if I go pull up a contact, let's go look for Mr. John Doe. Here's Mr. John Doe. I'm going to do an edit. Now John Doe belongs to this specific location. So what if I do want to set up a receivable account, but I only want it to be at that location? So I can come here at the enterprise, go to details, accounting. He has no receivable account. create, but now I tell the system I want it location managed. So you notice everything kind of blues out here, see, because you're going to set this at the individual location. Now right here, you can tell the system, do you want it to have a receivable account capability at all of the locations, or again, specific locations? If I only want them to be able to have that at the one location, then I can go in here and delete the others. So this is what we're talking about, and this is what we mean when we say location managed. So now I'm going to save it. So the next step is to go over to the location and set it up. So let's go over to the location. So here I am at location 2. We go to contacts. I'm going to pull up Mr. Joe. Click, right click, edit, details, accounting. So you say it says enterprise receivable account. When I click on this though, now I got to set my term, my limit, whatever it is. How do I want to do a statement? And see, this is a service charge rate that I had set for this location. So what does that mean? It just simply means I'm going to be managing this account at this particular location. That's all that means. So that is location managing accounts. The last one in here is going to be association. How do we associate? So let's go back to the enterprise. Let's talk about that. So I'm back in the enterprise, in the setup. Go to accounting, receivable accounts. So we have the capability of associating multiple contacts to a single receivable account. Now you could have the contact already set up with also a receivable account and then associate other contacts to it. You can also set up what we call a bare receivable. In other words, it's just a straight receivable account. I can do it at the enterprise, and then I can associate whichever contacts I want to it. So to do that, I can come right here to receivable accounts. I'm going to hit search. See, here's my list of accounts. Now you'll notice Fred here. See, that's the one we entered. Now, I want to set up a bare receivable and associate multiple contacts to that receivable. So I go to add. Now I'm going to create a receivable. Now the contact we will associate, but this is not going to have an actual contact record, this receivable. I'm going to hit next. So what are we going to call this? So maybe we have a fleet, different people from a fleet coming in and we want to build just that particular fleet service. So we're just going to call this, let's say ARI, which is a billing company. Again, it's going to be managed at the enterprise. There's our accounting terms, our defaults. How do I want to do statements? Print email. Okay. What locations is it going to be available at? Again, by default, it just turns them all on, but you can always turn off something if you don't need it. Now I click on save. So now I've created the account. Now I need to associate the individual contacts to it. So I right click, I'm going to do edit. Now I'm going to use the associated contacts. So at this stage here, all I'm going to do is search for those contacts that I want charging on that receivable account. I'm going to click on add. It's going to open my contact search. So I have a couple people. One of them is named Mr. Maxwell. I'll look for Mr. Maxwell. There he is. I'm going to click, select, or select up here. This is just left click, right click, is all this is. Or I can select here. So now I've put him on the list, and I just go look for the next one. And I have a Mr. Stevens. There he is. Click, select. So now I have both of these contacts associated to that receivable. What's that mean? It's very simple. They come in the shop, any location, we do a work order, we post it out on account, we invoice it on account, it will all flow to this receivable account automatically. Let's go see what this looks like at the location. Okay, we're going to close this up and go over to the location. Here I am at location 2. I wrote a counter sale ticket for Mr. Maxwell. And if I look over on the bottom right, you see he has an account limit of $2,500. So let's go finalize this ticket. We're going to post it. And I want to put it on account. Hit add. Hit next. And we'll finish the ticket. So we've posted that work order or invoice to on account, receivables. Let's go over and look at the receivable. So we're going to go to accounting. We're in the receivables. We'll just pull up all the accounts here real quick. There's the account. See, it's letting me know that's coming from Mr. Maxwell. There's the work order number. Now again, all grayed out. Why is this grayed out? I am managing at the enterprise. If I go look at my list here in the setup, again, we're still in the location. There is the receivable account. And let's go back to the enterprise. Here I am in the enterprise receivables. There's ARI. And here's the invoice. And again, I'm managing here. See, I can do all my functions. Service charges, adjustments, make a payment, reconcile, whatever I need to do. So the 3 ways I can do this. Let me click on search, pull them up. I can enter a contact and set them up as a enterprise receivable. So when I open this up, say enterprise managed receivable, set my term, my limit, my service charge rate, how am I going to do the statement, and what locations is that receivable going to be available at. So I'm doing this off of the contact. And again, I can always associate other contacts to it. I can also set up a location managed receivable, location managed. So I can tell it it's contact, John Doe, for example. When I set up the receivable, I'm telling the system I want them to manage it at the location. So the terms, limits, service charges, all of that is set up at each individual location. And I can tell the system which locations I want it to go to. The third way to do it is to simply add a bare receivable like we did with ARI. This just means there will be no contact record. And then I can, once I have this set up, I can associate multiple contacts and here what locations. And yes, even these you can make enterprise or location managed. That is account receivable setup at the enterprise.